Friends, welcome. What a week. What a week. And if you're like me, half of your heart is filled with deep relief and joy of the blue spark that has become a firework here in Georgia. Can we see a little hands for what is moving through us? And also the other half of our heart that might feel broken and torn in disbelief at the spark that became an explosion this week. A movement towards justice at the same time as the halls of justice were attacked. And to somehow try to understand that we are, in some sense, one nation, and that whether we understand it or not, that our lives are inextricably bound as the two different halves of our hearts are. We just took in this 2020 version of America the Beautiful, and we saw images of what we aspire to and what I want Shabbat to be. I believe that Shabbat can be a spiritual dream space for us, for what we can be as Jews, as Americans. And alas, we also this week saw the pictures of America, the incursion. This all exists in the same time, under the same sky. And if you're like me, it can sometimes leave you feeling out of your body. So the invitation with Shabbat is always to be here now, to ground yourself in this Shabbat service, to light the candles and let them ground you, to bring awareness to the breath throughout the service. There's opportunities to open ourselves up to the gratitude of where you sit in this very moment, and also to know who you're sitting next to in this virtual space. Gratitude for your Zoom neighbor. See if the words of prayers tonight might heal, and if they inspire, or if maybe they just hold witness, or we move through all of it. And so as we welcome each other tonight, and we welcome the folks who gather on YouTube, let us bring on this light of Shabbat. I want to invite Sharon Brownstein to light our Shabbat candles, and Gan, if you'll lead our blessing. Let's bring in that Shabbat light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzianu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
Amen. Even though that I may be on Spotlight, I want to switch to gallery view because I really want to see as many of your faces as possible. As always, we're gathered here on Zoom, and part of the blessing to gather after such a week is to see each other's faces and to find the connections that we know are there just by being able to see each other's faces. And in many ways, you are a visual Hallel. Hallel, the word that comes from hallelujah, that's connected, which means praise. As a service, it is a collection of psalms that are often sung on holidays, on holy days. And within the collection are the words from Psalm 118. And so tonight, though we might have many feelings about so much that has occurred, I did not want to miss the opportunity to sing Hallel and to uplift these words from Psalm 118, that the stone that the builder refused has become this place's cornerstone. There was an earlier time in Beit Chaverim's history, maybe after I was here for maybe just 2 years, where we talked about those words being almost our spiritual tagline at Congregation Beit Chaverim. And I think that that is now part of the tagline of Georgia. And so let us take a moment and dip into the joy and offer some gratitude to the organizers who brought forth something that we might have never thought was possible, holding so much of the space of what happened in our state. We are due to honor the Black women and men that worked tirelessly, that there was a reach to many of the places where people had felt suppressed, rejected, and invisible, who felt like they were the stones that were rejected. And we know what that feeling is like, and whom now the honor of the cornerstones are due. And so as Gayan sings these words, and you'll find them in the chat, we'll have the opportunity to sing them and offer that sense of gratitude and praise.
We will go straight into Shalom Aleichem after this. Even ma'asu habonim hayita lerosh pina meit Adonai hayita zot hi niflaot beinu. Even ma'asu habonim hayita lerosh pina meit Adonai hayita zot hi niflaot be'einenu. Even ma'asu habonim hayita lerosh pina meit Adonai hayita zot hi niflaot be'einenu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem leShalom, Malachi Ashalom, Malachi Elyon mimelech malchem lachim hakadosh baruch hu. Bachuni leShalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon mimelech malchei hamalachim hakadosh baruch hu. Bachuni leShalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon mimelech malchei hamalachim hakadosh baruch hu. Sechem leShalom, Malachi Shalom, Malachi Elyon mimelech malchem lachim hakadosh baruch hu.
So friends, in a moment we are going to move into some breakout rooms so that we can greet one another. I probably don't need to give any guiding words. I think just an opportunity for us to both introduce ourselves. If there are new people we don't know, do not be shy. Ask if you see someone you don't know, ask if people can say their names in your groups. Someone can take some leadership, but also, invite an opportunity to give some reflection, either a place where you were moved or something that you need to share from the pain or the power of the week. It's an opportunity just to connect and for us to ground ourselves with each other at this point. And those of you who are on YouTube, while we move into our own private rooms, please share with us a reflection of your week, what you're needing, what you saw, what you're hopeful about, where you might feel a sense of anxiety so that we can connect with you there as well. We will join together after we take a moment to wish each other a good Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom, y'all.
Hey, Rebecca, how are you?
Oh, hey, Effie, I'm great. I'm great. How are you? Well, I mean, pretty good.
Yeah, I got kicked out of the chat room, so it's good to talk to you.
Yeah, well, you were just too cool for school, I guess.
Cool. How are you doing?
I'm good. Hey, Karen. I'm wearing my Repair the World t-shirt that we got.
I like that t-shirt.
It's very nice. So, working with Repair the World has its perks. It's been kind of a crazy week, huh?
Yes.
Just like boom, 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 boom.
There's Darcy, Karen. So.
Rebecca, your hair looks beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Darcy. Coming from you means a lot.
Oh, it's matching your shirt perfectly.
That's what I was just saying. Working with Repair the World came with a big perk this year, which is this amazing t-shirt. So I've worn it 2 days in a row.
We need a lot of repair.
Yeah, yes, we do. Hey,
Hi.
Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. How are you, Lisa?
Good. How are you all?
Good.
Hey, Effie. How are you doing?
We're good.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
What a week.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
This is Moses, our foster dog. Here.
Ooh.
Oh.
Mosey,
Hey,
how
Moses.
are you doing?
Oh.
Is he a keeper?
We think we'll have him indefinitely, but we've had him for 2 months. So
Hey, Ahmed, Howard, what'd you do with him when you went during the Denver interlude?
Alan Sugar took care of him.
Oh, couldn't ask for better than that.
No, exactly.
Right. They're best of friends now.
Oh.
I was on a call with Alan and he mentioned, he didn't say whose dog it was, but he said he was fostering a dog. And I think he loved it. I really do.
Yes, I think
So it doesn't surprise me that they're best of friends now, because he talked about how wonderful the dog was.
Yes, yes. We went back and had a walk, the four of us, last weekend.
He's over fostered.
Exactly.
That's right. He's our Black Moses.
Well, it's nice to see everybody. I don't know.
What a week.
Hey, Mark and Sally. Good Shabbos. Hey, Ahmed. Hey, Dustin. Hey, Kate and Sybil.
Oh, they're
So, friends, as we're gathering back, one of the comments that was made in our group was really how much whiplash was felt on Wednesday, kind of riding this crest of like amazement and then watching and witnessing. And, I thought that whiplash is really such a powerful metaphor for what it was. And that actually, perhaps this sounds cheesy, but I believe that Shabbat and our spiritual practices is what we do to get back in alignment. That the kind of damage of whiplash is that everything moves out of alignment, and that there's this possibility of moving ourselves back in by our practices and grounding. When I think about whiplash, I also think about this week's Torah portion. We ended Genesis last week, and the brothers have come together, and it seems like there's this potential future for this family. And then a new Pharaoh arises right at the start, and the Torah portion becomes bleak in the very onset. And so the beginnings of Exodus remind me of all the ways that the Hebrews were suppressed and unpressed and abused. And if a cynic were to read and were kind of unfolding, they would have written the Hebrews off and their situation as hopeless. And yet there were people who existed in our ancient story like Shiphrah and Puah, the midwives, who disobeyed civilly in ways and found ways to circumvent the lethal laws, and they made justice as they could. And that, in the biblical time, were the beginnings of the stirring of active hope that has always been present in our Jewish story. Friends, when I came back to Atlanta 21 years ago, we already had conservative senators, but at least our governor and our state house shared some similar values with me. But pretty quickly after I arrived in Georgia, who we were and what we stood for in Georgia became increasingly different, and my values were found to be scarce in the vast Georgia leadership. There have been times that it has felt like an all-out assault on humane and progressive values. But we at Beit Chaverim have been a Jewish center that has been undeterred, and we have found ways to uplift our values. When I think about what happened this November and this week, and I think about the dozens and dozens, likely over 100 of us who worked to get out the votes, who supported candidates, who watched polls, who cured ballots, I could not have been more inspired. So many of us found our ways to work a sense of active hope. You are willing to dedicate yourselves to something as outrageous as enfranchising more people to vote, and to think that maybe the unbelievable outcome could happen of a Black pastor and a Jewish millennial being elected to the Senate. All of you who worked believed in some ways, like our ancient midwives, that we could do work and circumvent some of the forces of suppression in our state. And I want to say that was crazy, and that was beautiful, and it was inspiring. And it showed that you used active hope to build a future that was only possible because you believed that you could make a difference. And so as we hear the words that we sang during the High Holy Days as our handle, this understanding of kaveh, that our hearts need to be strengthened with a sense of hope. And for all of us who found a way to lean into that and acted that out, I want to invite us to put in the chat so that we can witness one another the ways that we supported this movement through the election and our runoff as we listen to these words.
אל תתנני בנפש צרה, קווה אל אדוני, Kavel Adonai Al tineni benefesh sarai Kavel Adonai Lad Hamalini Bakshu Fanai Kavel Adonai Chazak v'yamet libecha Chazak v'yamet libecha Chazak v'yamet libecha V'kavel Shabbat Shalom. What an inspiring list to see appear. Almost made me forget my part sometimes. Thank you everybody for all the light you've brought. Let's sing about, let's bring that light in ourselves. Or Zarua is on page 31. Keep this rolling. Bum, join us. Tzadik u'yisrael simcha u'zaru ala tzadik u'yisrael simcha u'zaru ala tzadik Yisrael
So nice to have you with us, Amy. Thank you, Will and Amy, for those beautiful psalms. We move into Lachadodi, and what I'm feeling as we're together right now and singing together, even though we can't hear each other, is I'm really starting to feel what Shabbat does, that it's the great equalizer and balancer. And boy, do we need it, as we're all saying and from this week. And I'm so inspired by what I'm reading over here. So all of that inspiration is also like that incredible opportunity to feel the deepening arrival of Shabbat as Shabbat comes in as this feminine presence and really makes the connections to our heart for really settling in. So Lachadodi. Shamo v'zachor beidur bechad Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'li tila Lecha, lecha dodi, likrat, likrat kala, pene, pene Shabbat nekabe Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor habracha mirosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshava techila lecha Dodi, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabe Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala Gam besimcha uv'tzchola Tok emune am segula Boi kala lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Join me on the Nagun. Yai dai yai 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 dai yai 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 dai yai dai yai dai
Friends, if you would like to either rise in spirit or in presence, please do so for the Chatzi Kaddish, which we find on page 55. Yikadaha v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. B'yamat yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kahariv, vimeru, amen. Yehesh me rabo mevorach, leolam leome amaya, yiparach. Yiparach v'yishtabach, v'yipar v'trumam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei dekudesha brichu, li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, dahamiran be'alma, Vimeru, amen. For those who wish to continue to stand, please do so. We take a moment and are mindful of our blessings as we start Ma'ariv with this recognition that as we open up to receive blessing, we are also the ones who bestow blessing as well. Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da. Baruchu et Adonai, ha-mevorach, ha-mevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai ha-mevorach leolam va'ed. So the first blessing that we encounter before the Shema, we have two blessings before the Shema and one blessing and two blessings that follow it in the evening, is one that talks about how we cycle in and out of time. And it is part of an opportunity for us to kind of settle in and recognize that evening is coming and that we can find a sense of calm and peace within, that we can find the sense of grounding. And I really believe this melody that we're so lucky to have our chorus director, Will Robertson, and Amy Robertson joining us in leading this version by Sun Moon Pie that embodies this sense of cycle. And so I invite you to join in singing, but also let this wash over us as we settle into the evening.
inspired by what Clinton just wrote in the chat about remembering love is available to everyone and they're all people. This prayer that we pray, Ahavat Olam, we are loved by an unending love, is available to all. These words by Rami Shapiro have been set to music by Shir Yaakov. And if you're not able to turn to page 61, the refrain is, we are loved and unending love. And that comes back around a few times to help us remember and because it makes for really good singing and praying. We are loved, loved, loved by an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by an unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us, even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us, even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us, even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved, loved, loved by an unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by an unending love, an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved, loved, loved by an unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by an unending love, an unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by an unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by an unending love, an unending love.
Thank you, Gan. That prayer moves me a great deal, and to connect into that sense of unending love and to sometimes have to trust that it's there even in moments of anxiety feels like an incredible act of faith. Anne had the wisdom that tonight might be a lovely opportunity for us to hear each other's voices. Something that we often do in mindful moments is come off of mute and say the Shema together. So what we feel what I call the cacophony of the oneness. And I think that given what we've experienced, that if we can say these words of the Shema together and take in our voices and our multiple perspectives and weave them together, recognizing that we are each holding a part of the experience, but that together it completes that wholeness and that oneness. So I want to invite those who are comfortable to unmute yourselves and join with me in saying Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'leftecha v'derech u'shappecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ochot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'einenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. And as we think about that sense of oneness in a real way, I wanted to invite Shelley Rose to offer this reading written by my colleague, Rabbi Emily Cohen, for this particular Shabbat, a prayer for our country.
Merciful One, you who gave us wisdom and understanding, you who placed within our hearts pounding the possibility of pursuit of justice, you who granted us keen senses and constant memory and each breath of life, may you give us, all of us, through the 225-year red, white, and blue haze, the ability to see the truth. America has never yet been great. May this truth be made plain soon and in our lifetimes. May we place our feet on the path to remedy. May you build within us the right kind of stubbornness to craft John Lewis's good trouble, to pursue Dr. King's dream, to dissent even if society remains unready, to align ourselves against our blood-stained foundations, to speak out falsehoods with the unbroken blast of the shofar, to listen to those who know the same stories in another point of view, to listen to those who have fought for what we seek before we knew to seek it, to listen to our heartbeat, to listen to our condoning silence, to listen, Shema. All of we sacred wrestlers, may we begin the work of making America anew. May you give us the strength to let "that's just the way it is" fall away as an excuse. May you grant us the courage to sit with our culpability and our losses and our shame and be unafraid. May you help us to seek not greatness for its own sake, but great gentleness and growth, cradled in love together, generation by generation, with all our heart, with all our strength, with all our essence, with all that animates our souls. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. We move into our prayer of deliverance, Micha Mocha, this reminder that freedom is an ongoing process. Page 79.
Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha Neder b'kodesh Nora Tehi Find Ufo Saleno on page 81. Ufo Saleno Sukat Shlomecha V'taknenu b'etzat tova milfanecha ve'hoshiach Ufo Saleno Sukat Shlomecha V'taknenu b'etzat tova milfanecha ve'hoshiach Ufo Saleno Sukat Shlomecha V'taknenu b'etzat tova milfanecha ve'hoshiach Ufo Saleno Sukat Shlomecha V'taknenu b'etzat tova milfanecha
I didn't want it to end. So it was nice to be under that canopy of wholeness and peace with all of you, and to feel held in that prayer, inviting us to find a place of rest. So I shared this with Mindful Moments this week, that I found myself after Wednesday night, and I think I shared this in the beginning of the service, very out of sorts, and my energy was all over the place. And I think that my anger and feeling distraught, brought out a side of me that I'm not always proud of. Sometimes that sense of, I went online on Twitter, which we all know is not a great landscape to find oneself. And every single senator that participated who put out some ridiculous statement, I just found myself saying, This is on you. You are complicit. Like, and there was just this way where I thought that, it was true, but it was impulsive. And the next morning I wake up and Facebook, which also perhaps is not, I'm mentioning the two devils' playgrounds. Facebook sends me this message that says, you posted this in the past 3 years ago on this day. And so I read what I wrote, and it said, an observation of close to a year since this presidency. The danger of this reckless and volatile behavior of this administration is that it tempts us to engage crassly, emotionally, and reactively. The spiritual work that is before us is to ensure that we act with integrity and alignment of our values. Despite all of the losses, the pain that we are experiencing, we must not lose the sense of our best selves. It is knowing who we are and who we are meant to be that will be a key to our redemption. And so there's nothing like your former self schooling your present self. But that is exactly the message that I needed to hear. And I appreciated that I had this wisdom to say, double down on your spiritual practice, Josh. In this week's Torah portion, we learn of Moses running away after acting rashly and violently and impulsively, and finding himself wandering, tending the sheep in the fields. Slowing down, he begins to notice this bush that is not consumed. And in this place, Moses, becoming curious and aware, begins to pay attention, takes off his shoes, feels the holy ground beneath his feet, and begins a conversation with the divine. And Moses, wanting to best the divine, says, I need your name. And God's response is, Ehyeh asher ehyeh. I am that what I am becoming. And so as we develop a relationship to our divine truths, to that spark inside us, to that place of alignment that invites a sense of who we are becoming and who we want to be, and yes, we will find a way, we will find ourselves led astray, we'll be tempted to move in this direction or that direction, but to remember that we can tap into that unfolding sense of divine presence or truth that lies within us, that invites us to move into that best sense of ourselves, that Ehyeh asher ehyeh is our own divine unfolding as well. And so as we listen to this beautiful chant created by our lay cantor, I want to move into a place of silent meditation, see if we can tap into that place of our unfolding in this moment. And as we hold the all of everything we're experiencing, have the potential to listen deeply to what we're being called to in this moment. Before we move from our silence to our prayer for healing, if you found that chant as powerful as I did, or as Amy Lighthill put in the chat, that it felt like a balm, you can find it on Beyond the Veil, one of our sometimes underutilized gems of our music collection. And so just wanted to invite people to know where you might be able to use that for your own practice. So we move into our prayer for healing, where we offer a refuah shlema. As we are at the beginning of the year and we kind of restart our Misha Berach list, even though I encourage folks to add, to let the office know from names from last week, we still have very few names on the list, so I really rely the folks on YouTube and the folks here to put the names in the chat so that they're included. Feel free to say their names in your hearts. And so tonight, I include the names of Maureen Kalmanson, Richard Cohen, Jenny Williams Cohen, Mario Eugene Hudson II, Esther Reckman, Lois Birch, Alyssa Gilbert, Mitch Gilbert, and Ron Anderson.
Join us. This is call and response.
want to say, given the time, I'm almost tempted to save this Devar for Shabbat Shirah. But it's a shorter Devar Torah. So, and I'll speak fast. How's that? So, in kind of thinking about this week, I want to share with you that at one of the virtual events that I assisted in organizing for the Jewish community, candidates at that point, Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, were present. And at some point towards the beginning, Raphael referred to John as Brother John. He then made the point even more deeply. He said that John was his brother from another mother. And it was poignant, and there seemed to be a real connection and affinity between both of them. And it struck me, having once been at an event in the Green Room with then Senators Perdue and Isaacson, ironically at Ebenezer Baptist Church for a National Martin Luther King Jr. Day event, that if there was any connection between the two of them, it did not show. Perdue was aloof and intentionally visually occupied, whereas Johnny was friendly, greeting everybody and making small talk with those around him. Now, I won't surmise anything about their relationship so deeply from that one experience, except to say in the moment I noticed that they did not seem warm or brotherly in the way that I had been witnessing our two candidates at this point. So if there is affinity for one another and that it is authentic, I thought, wow, will this pave the way for many good things for our communities? And now, especially because they won together, each bringing enough of their demographic to the table, but more importantly, because they have some impressive and different set of skills and talents and life experiences, not unlike the partnership of Moses and Aaron, who truly are brothers in this week's Torah portion, but who grew up very differently. One very oppressed, one in the palace, one being able to leave and return, while the other fighting for his liberation. I am not naive, and so I know that politics can be a funny and a fickle thing, but I had a spark of hope for what their relationship between Ossoff and Warnock might portend for us. So fast forward to Wednesday afternoon. Ossoff had not yet been decided, but was the likely winner, and I received a call from Jim Galloway, political writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He asked me if I had heard the joke, a black man and a Jewish man walked into a bar, and the bartender said, "Hey, senators." I had seen it already on Twitter, and its perhaps better variation. I told you the mood that I'd been in, which is a black man and a Jewish man walked into the Capitol, and they said, "Sit down, Mitch McConnell." There's actually an expletive in there that this, of course, is a joke that makes the way for our first Jewish majority leader, Chuck Schumer. But to make this joke truly funny is to note and to realize that the relationship between blacks and Jews is seen as rare, or at least rare that the two of them would become senators in this time in Georgia. But I also imagine that people liked this joke because it felt good. The underdogs won, and they won together. But to me, like the idea that they could actually be brothers, this linkage, I believe, invites an important opportunity and challenge for us. So when Galloway asked for my thoughts about this, I wanted to tell the truth as plainly and simply as I could. If I had hoped for Ossoff's and Warnock's win, it was not because of them personally, but because of the values they hold and the repair that I believed that they could do. But only if we do not allow them to be just symbols that make us feel good or reduced to a heartwarming punchline. So I told Galloway that the current Black-Jewish alliance remains a work in progress here in Georgia. Race is one issue. On the Jewish side, I said, when Rabbi Rothschild was leading the temple and advocating for civil rights, there were congregants who did not want Rothschild to do that work. There are Jews who are ambivalent or even resistant to the work of criminal justice, of reparations, or restoring voting rights. And while Israel is a real concern for some and should be, tests of allegiance to Israel can often have a secondary motive, I said. Sometimes it can simply be a facade so that our community doesn't have to do the work of examining the racism that exists behind it. As uncomfortable as that is to say out loud, for it to be healed, I continued, it must be said. I also noted, which he did not quote, that this is a time where we need to look to the Jews of color, to Black Jews, for their voice, their leadership, and to listen about what's possible in this relationship. But I said, in the Black community, there is also anti-Semitism and even Christian hegemony that needs to be healed within the Black Christian community today. So it's not like we all don't have our work to do. But in the South, that is increasingly polarized politically, working those differences out is essential. So if we don't understand that our survival and our thriving depend on nurturing this kind of affiliation and coalition, then we will find ourselves in deep trouble, I expressed to him. When John and Raphael call each other brother, we then need to do the work to figure out what that kinship can really look like. And so I believe that is our challenge, or rather our opportunity. They create an opening. Mind you, I spoke of our mutual interdependence as a matter of survival hours before the domestic terrorists came, many of whom were white supremacist, nationalist, and Nazi images, and attacked our capital. I felt out of my body as I watched, understanding that this was the very threat I was talking to Jim Galloway about. And it happened hours later. So we are truly in trouble if we do not forge our way together, if we do not understand that our future, our destiny is tied, and that the growing coalition of diverse peoples in Georgia, who has been historically cast aside or actively oppressed, need in this moment to not just come together in a coalition to put two people in office that might support what we hope to see in this country, but that we are backing and deepening this relationship so that the ripples are far beyond the policy and the politics, but is experienced on the personal, systemic level in our state and hopefully in our country. We can be a vision of the New South, and the New South can be the vision of our country. In our Torah portion, folks, the group of people who are the target of the tyrant of Mitzrayim, that we sometimes call the Pharaoh, has a campaign to eliminate the people called Ivrim, which we translate as Hebrews. Some scholars note that this is not an ethnic term. This is not a familial or a national designation, like the word Israelite might be, who they become. But it is more a descriptor of a pattern of living, akin to the word nomad or wanderer. Ivrim comes the word to cross over. And so we might see this group of Ivrim as a group of outsiders or migrants, if you will. Furthermore, scholars describe that they were likely from different clans and different places of origin, only one of which were the Israelites, who eventually banded together and subsumed this identity of Israelite. Needless to say, at some point, they realized that they had a mutual destiny. They needed to weave their narratives together, which we call the Torah, and they depended on each other to make their way to freedom. And so this is perhaps a model of how we might be inspired to reimagine what it means to be Americans together. That the group of people who came together perhaps are the Ivrim of Georgia, are the folks who have not been in that center of power, but rather who have sat around the periphery. And we as Jews have a delicate balance of which side we want to sit in, because we play an interesting role in sometimes being insider and sometimes being outsider. It is why we are often called race traders, those of us who have white skin, because of that strange opportunity/challenge that we live in. And it is a unique burden, but it allows us to choose a place to align ourselves. And because our Torah tells us we know the heart of a stranger, I invite us to think about that migrant sense of not being at the center, but moving towards a common good that centers what is needed for everybody to move forward. I believe that we have our work to do, that for us as Jews to be the kin that we can be, we must address the systemic racism that affects us all, that we must listen and be led by Jews of color who live and love both communities. Active hope does not end today because we had a victory on January 20th. As I've said to you for years now, the work will just begin. If we remain satisfied to settle merely for empty symbolism of two brothers or a platitude of an inspired punchline, then we run the risk of being the butt of the joke, and the joke being on us. And not only will it not be funny, but we will have squandered the kind of opportunity of the sea opening up before us, leading us to freedom. And we will have missed that path and the privilege of receiving the way to freedom and the other side. That is the step towards active hope that our Torah portion is speaking to us in this moment. Will we step into that possibility? I hope so. Shabbat Shalom. Want to invite our treasurer, Jackie Sherman, to give some announcements this evening.
Shabbat Shalom. It's a beautiful evening in Georgia. We are so proud to host so many friends from around Atlanta and around the country for our virtual services. I have several announcements. I'm going to start by speaking to members first. You have received several emails from Julie Lacris, our administrator, requesting your vote on the bylaws. If you haven't replied, please take the 1 minute that it will take to cast your vote. We have to hear from you. Thank you. Now on to activities. All are invited to our offerings in the coming week. Tomorrow, Saturday morning at 10 a.m., you're invited to Torah study with Rabbi Gottfried. On Monday, January 11th, join us at noon for lunch and learn, also with Rabbi Gottfried. There'll be a CBH board meeting on Tuesday, January 12th at 5:30 p.m. Next weekend services on Friday at January 15th. Please join us again for Shabbat services starting at 6:45 p.m. Your Jewish Bridge is offering a host of classes starting soon. Want to learn how to read Hebrew? Want to learn more about Jewish holidays? Did you not have a bar or bat mitzvah and want to do so as an adult? Did you convert or grow up not practicing and want to continue your Jewish education? If you answered yes to any of these questions, we have a class for you. Check your bet mail or the Your Jewish Bridge website for full descriptions and links to sign up. As a reminder, the new album from the CBH Chorus Band and Strings, Red Thread, is now available for purchase. Please visit our website to pick up a copy of this fabulous album. And speaking of music, be sure to mark your calendars for Saturday, January 16th at 8 p.m. for a virtual concert with the CBH Strings. As we say every week, we have a whole section of the website dedicated to COVID resources and response. This is where you can find links to all public CBH Zoom gatherings, as well as links to practical and financial resources and spiritual and mental health resources. Go to the CBH website, congregationbethhavarim.org, and you will see it in the main navigation across the top, COVID Central. As a reminder, if you need to contact CBH staff, please do so via their CBH emails. While we love Facebook and social media, the staff does not check their social media as often as their email. So please reach out to them via email. As always, for a full view of our offerings, please visit the CBH calendar on our website. We're constantly posting new events and services, so please check often to stay up to date. And I noticed that we didn't say anything, which I want to make sure people know about our 10-minute minyan, which takes place at 7:45 every evening, except when there is a Shabbat evening service. Hope to see you. Please join us. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate that, and there are terrific things going on. I hope that you will join us. As we work to the conclusion of our service this evening, we just take a moment. Everything has been so rich, and connect to that oneness that we tapped into with the Shema. Part of the Aleinu references that there is only a sense of godliness. And so as we wrap our heads around the disparate experiences we have, that oneness is a reflection that can hold all.
Einod milvado, Einod milvado Adonai, hu Elohim. Einod milvado, Einod milvado Adonai, hu Elohim. Einod milvado, Einod milvado Adonai, hu Elohim.
Friends, please join me for the prayer for the end of hiding. You'll find it in your chats. As LGBTQ Jews, we are aware of the loss of integrity we suffer due to the pressures of the larger society. We often feel forced into a dishonest presentation of ourselves to ourselves and others. The LGBTQ individuals who feel they must pretend to be something that they are not. The Jews who feel they must be alienated from their tradition and community to win larger acceptance. Both are victims of a theft of identity and integrity committed by the sexual, gender-identifying, or religious majority. Creator of the universe, we ask that our hiding draw to an end, that we no longer feel we have to pretend, to promise falsely, to renounce ourselves, and that our fullest creative expression as Jews and as lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer people be among the blessings you bestow upon us. And let us say, Amen. We say Mourners Kaddish this evening. I ask those of you, if you would like to put the names in the chat, Take a moment as we witness those that we are honoring with this prayer. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. You'll find Mourner's Kaddish on page 131. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah bi'alma v'divra v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dachol beit Yisrael bagala v'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehesh me rabba mevorach le'olam umei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh Vitadar vitale vitalal shmei kutsha brichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel V'imru, amen. We will conclude with those words this evening. Oseh shalom b'mromav. May the one who creates peace in the heights create peace for all of us, for the people Israel, and for the entire world. Let us say amen. And if we have a little bit of energy and want to dance our way out, let us do so. Because as they say, the joy that we express in this world now is the joy we bring into the world to come.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbos, everyone. Feel free to unmute. Wish each other Shabbat.
Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Shalom,
Bye,
everybody.
Yashikach.
Shalom.
Yashalach. Bill and Amy. Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
shalom.
Stay safe.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Haley.
Amy and Will.
Yeah, that
Thank
was
you, Gayanne.
awesome. Good to see you.
Great cataract.
Gorgeous.
Bye.
I love y'all's energy. It's so awesome.
No, don't. Nobody.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right, guys.
I love it. Sibling fights.
Thank you.
Night, lady.
Bye.
Good job.
Amy here with Will.
Whoops, we're down.
Dan and Rabbi and Will and Amy, thank you. The music is just a salve. It really is.
Nice to see you again, Amy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yep. The Sonny and Cher of CBH.
You really, I hope you saw that I almost lost it.
And
when
he
you typed
started
that.
laughing in the middle. That's a very touching piece of music
know.
because he's reading the chat
Get
bar.
it back. I know. Don't get it back. Yeah, I know.
Y'all make beautiful harmony together.
Thanks.
Thank you, Margie.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everybody.
Thank you, you too, guys.
Gan. Thank you, Gan. Hey, Susan. Hey, Clinton.
Time to go.
Hey, Margie. How are you?
We're good. How
I
are
saw
you,
Elliot there
Susan?
for a
I'm
minute.
good.
I'm so glad to hear that. Shabbat shalom.
You too.
Hey, Amy.
Hey, Amy Price. Good to see you.
How's that adorable little baby boy?
Hopefully sleeping right now.
Oh my God.
grandmother.
Time for wine then, huh?
Yeah.
Time for a glass of wine and a kickback.
Yeah, we're one margarita into it, so we're feeling good.
But you know what we found is the margarita wine. They carry it at Costco and it tastes just like a margarita.
Isn't that sangria?
They give her little chips of ice and it's really good.
Some of the
Nice. Well, that's good to know.
some of the public stores carry it, but about twice the price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yummy.
Okay, gotta
Good
go.
Shabbos, y'all.
Have a good night.